Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's mix some more of these wonderful urban legends here straight from the website that I'm featuring them from called urbanlegendsonline.com. In this case, I'm going to showcase two of them here. One of them I've already talked about in the past. In fact, when I looked at my information, it's 7 years old. It's crazy. It just seemed like I just did it last month, but it was 7 years ago, if you could believe that. So that one I've already covered. The other one, though, is new, and it's more of a guidance, like more of another alert when it comes to looking out for certain criminal activity. But in this case, the first one is called Resurrection Mary. And then the next one is called Know What and How Much Money That You Are Carrying. So let's go ahead and let's feature both of these here. It's going to be a relatively shorter video. And then once again, I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on them afterward. So the first one, again, is called Resurrection Mary. And here's what it says. Most researchers agree that the most accurate version of the story concerns a young girl who was killed while hitchhiking down Archer Avenue in the early 1930s. Apparently, she had spent the evening dancing with a boyfriend at the O. Henry Ballroom. At some point, they got into an argument, and Mary, as she has come to be called, stormed out of the place. Even though it was a cold winter's night, she thought she would rather face a cold walk home than another minute with her boorish lover. So she left the ballroom and started walking up Archer Avenue. She had not gotten very far when she was struck and killed by a passing automobile. The driver fled the scene and Mary was left there to die. Her grieving parents buried her in Resurrection Cemetery, wearing a white dress and her dancing shoes. Since that time, her spirit has been seen along Archer Avenue, perhaps trying to return to her grave after one last night among the living. Then that's it. That's everything associated with this urban legend, kind of a mixture of a ghost and spirit side. So let's talk about that here. Yes, a lot of the detail is still the same from 7 years ago when I was talking about it. And it's very similar, again, to a lot of the almost vanishing hitchhiker stories that usually involve younger girls within a lot of those stories. But yeah, apparently she was there at that ballroom. She got into an argument with her boyfriend, and then she decided to just leave that place. And when that happened on that fateful night, not only was it very cold, but it was also very dark. There she was walking down that place called Archer Avenue, and then she was hit by the automobile. And to this day, again, there's no information as to who was that person behind the automobile, but whoever they were, they fled, left her head there to die, and then later on she was buried in that nearby Resurrection Cemetery. At least that's what I thought it was. The idea, again, that she was walking down the location, and it happened to be by that cemetery of all places as well. But to this day, apparently her ghost is still seen wandering that location or wandering nearby where she was struck. And then apparently if you go there, you'll have a chance to see her as well. What's interesting about this story is that, again, it's, even though it was 7 years ago that I talked about it, I still have comments. In fact, I recall one just a couple weeks ago. Someone was talking about it there on my channel. Like, they were watching the video and they decided to comment on it. It's always fascinating to me, like, how people find my videos, and even older ones, like ones that are 5+ years old. They find them, they talk about them, and then I guess that brings up more viewership afterward and more comments on there too. So I never know, again, what's gonna be later on down the line commented on, but this was one of those stories, so it still definitely has some interest. Next one is called Know What and How Much Money You Are Carrying, and here's what it goes, how it goes. It's more told on the first person's perspective. So this was what it says. This was the first I've heard of a scheme like this. Be safe, something very serious to pay attention to. Criminals are coming up with craftier, less threatening methods of attack, so we have to be extra cautious. I live in Alexandria, Virginia, but I often work in Lafayette, Louisiana, staying with friends when I'm there. As you know from America's Most Wanted TV program, as well as the news media, There is a serial killer in the Lafayette area. I want to let you know about an incident that happened to me a few weeks ago and could have been deadly. At first, I didn't go to the police or anyone with it because I didn't realize how serious this encounter was. But since I work in a jail and I told a few people about it, it wasn't long before I was paraded into police to tell them my story. Now, it was approximately 5:15 a.m. in Opelousas, Louisiana. I had stayed with a friend there and was on my way to work. I stopped at the Exxon Blimpie Pie Station to get gas. I got $10 of gas and a Diet Coke. I took into the store two $5 bills and one $1 bill, which is just enough to get my stuff. As I pulled away from the store, a man approached my truck from the back side of the store, which was an unlit area. He was an approachable looking man, i.e., clean cut, clean shaven, dressed well, etc. He walked up to my window and knocked. Since I'm very paranoid and always looking for the rapist or killer, I didn't open the window. I just asked what he wanted. He raised a $5 bill to my window and said, "You dropped this." Since I knew I had gone into the store with a certain amount of money, I knew I didn't drop it. When I told him it wasn't mine, he next began hitting my window and door, screaming at me to open my door and insisting that I had dropped the money. At that point, I just drove away as fast as I could. After talking to the police department and describing the man I saw and the way he escalated from calm to polite and to angry and volatile, it was determined I could have possibly encountered the serial killer myself. Up to this point, it had been unclear as to how he had gained access to his victims, since there had been no evidence of forced entry into victims' homes, cars, etc., and the fact that he had been attacking in the daytime when women are less likely to have their guard up means he is pretty bold. So think about it. What gesture is nicer than returning money to someone that dropped it? How many times would you have opened your window or door to get your money and say thank you? If the person is kind enough to return something to you, then he can't really be a threat, can he? Please be cautious. This might not have been the serial killer, but anyone that gets that angry over someone not accepting money from them can't have honorable intentions. The most important thing to note is that his reaction was not what I expected. It was a total surprise. But what might have happened if I had opened my door? I shudder to think. Forward this to everyone you know. Maybe they can be as fortunate as I was. P.S. Ladies, really do forward this to everyone you know. Even if this man wasn't a serial killer, he looked nice. He seemed polite. He was apparently doing an act of kindness, but he was not a nice person. Then that's it. That's everything associated with this urban legend. So let's talk about that here. When I was reading originally this information, I got the impression that this was one of those stories that used to go viral. You know how something would post and then it would be shared, I guess, on Facebook, maybe even MySpace, who knows? And then it would be shared on a bunch of forums, and then people would in turn share them, like screenshot them, I guess, between text and so on. This is the kind of stuff that it reminded me of, maybe even email as well. But yeah, apparently at that time, and it gives you an idea, two $5 bills was apparently enough to fill up on gas. You can't do all that these days. So it goes to show what the time period is on this. But yeah, apparently at that time, there was a serial killer somewhere there in Lafayette area in Louisiana. And whoever this was apparently utilizing their clean cut looks, their nice demeanor, and trying to do a very kindful act when it comes to quote unquote returning a $5 bill to someone. And of course, that was the way, ingenious, but also insidious way for them to be able to then get access to the to the vehicle. And then that's it. That's who knows what happened afterward. Very, very insidious. But yeah, that's essentially what this a guide was. Whoever wrote this was essentially trying to make sure that people understood what their situation was, and that way they could provide advice to others, like almost like a warning to be able to stop this. So very interesting stuff. But let me know what you guys and gals think with regards to this entry. And then, of course, if you have any other question or comments below, please go ahead and post them as well. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.